think I posted the video.
Yeah.
But anyways, scratch that. Welcome to the podcast, guys. Well, second episode, as we promised. And you have the Vizsla podcast. Myself, Lawrence, and Elvis over here. And we have two special guests for you, two of my very, very great friends. How about we start with this black, sexy man over here. You gotta start with your name, give us your name, what you do for work, and how long you've lived in Dubai, whatnot.
Okay. My name is Fee. I'm really happy to be on the and thanks for the invite.
No worries, man.
This is the first time I'm doing something like this. But I'm really looking forward to it.
Yeah.
My name is Fee, as I said earlier on.
Yeah.
I'm into the tech space. I'm a big fan of technology. I started off with software development, and then I transitioned into data science and artificial intelligence. So currently, I also have I try to do an influencer vibes as well. So I try to do reviews for tech gadgets, and some memes as well. I think that summarizes who I am.
Yeah.
Cool.
Fantastic. And then we have another very great friend here. I haven't seen him in a while.
Very true.
Literally just texted you this evening. I'm
an hour ago, but
that is because we had a few guests we're supposed to bring in, but no one was really available at the time.
Yeah.
And so it was just him. It was just us three that was supposed to be here. And then I really thought because we already have the topic for this podcast, and you're one person who has inspired me in that sense.
Thank you very much.
In some sense, which I'll definitely get into, but I had to come here. So introduce yourself to the viewers.
Well, I'm Stuart. My name's Stuart. Basically what I do is I've been doing sort of property management, real estate since I was 15 years old. So I've still carried on with that. And that's what I do here in Dubai. So I manage, different people's properties. We always put in the best situation. Maybe it's renting it long-term, short-term, buying, selling, whatever it needs. And then on the side, I just started a small business in Spain. So we do with cider production and import and export of cider. So that's all in all. That's what I do. And
That's great stuff. You look sexy, by the way. You both look sexy.
Thank you so much.
I haven't seen a while. Funny enough, you both you guys are really into fitness. You both.
Yeah.
You both are really into fitness and and it's just great. You guys really inspire me with the whole disciplines thing. It's just great stuff.
I'm gonna be coming every week to a podcast to get all of the compliments.
I haven't seen a while. That's why I'm so happy to see you. But really, go on, Elvis. How's your day, anyways?
My day, as always, like I tell you, is super busy. I'm just glad that we were able to actually get this kick started once again. We intended to come out with an episode sooner than coming out with it now. We want to come out at least with one episode every other Sunday or so. But better sooner than later, right?
Yeah.
So for now, I'm just happy that we're here now with you guys, and we're just gonna get things kick-started. Primarily what we want to talk about today.
No, wait, hold on. But you know what's funny though?
What?
We wanted to get this out sooner, but in the first episode, I actually did say that we're gonna come out with a second episode in December. And
True.
I literally said that because as much as we want to do it, I just had to take all data from how much time we put into work and whatnot, and how long it takes us to actually get prepared and whatnot.
Cool.
And then in December, so this would probably we're recording this 29th, right? Today's 29th, so probably 29th. First week.
By the time this comes out, it'll definitely be December.
But we'll try to get out episodes more frequently, maybe once every 2 weeks or once every week if time allows it. But planning takes time. But yeah, sorry.
But primarily, what we want to talk about is mental health, specifically for men. So this is why we've gathered up, us men here in this room, and we want to see how mental health dictates a success or the success of a man, right? I'm sure that we all have different experiences here as men that has led us to the current point that we're in. You mentioned you're in property management. You yourself are in the technology space. But aside from all of the work and everything that we do as professionals in our professional careers, there is a mind that we have, obviously, that allows us to operate the way that we do, right? So how do we as men keep that mind in check, obviously, despite all of the stress and things that happen in our personal and professional lives, and just kind of move along through this thing we call life, you know, as men?
Yeah. So I mean, it would start with Fee. Like, so basically, how, so far, because I've known you for for a while now.
Yeah.
You know, we've been close friends for a minute now. So basically, how has your relationship with mental health as a concept? How is it how is it related to your success, either directly or indirectly, so far?
I would say in a lot of ways, it has really helped me. And the thing about, mental health for me in a way is like sometimes when these things happen to me, I'm like, why is this happening to me? I'm like, I don't see the big picture now. But then later on when I, get to certain areas in my life, I'm like, okay, this has prepared me to be able to handle this situation, very well, And for me, it was only to like recently I really understood how important like mental health is, because I had something traumatic that happened to me. I cannot go into full details, but but luckily like that night I went to Lawrence like to play some FIFA.
Yeah.
And about 5 a.m. I got like some text message that made me like shiver to the
Yeah.
and luckily, like, thank God that I was with Lawrence at that point, because if I was alone, I don't know what I would have done, And that brings me to like why it is important to have, at least one or two friends that you can tell anything to. Like,
Very important.
You can like embarrass yourself, like, like, this is who I am. Like,
And that's so important. I'm sorry to cut you off. I think that there's this connotation between being a man and keeping things silent, keeping things bottled in. Right?
I completely agree. Because we have this kind of instinct of, I need to be a lone wolf, need to do everything by myself. And as you're mentioning, you had your friend, right?
Yeah.
And that saved you. But most men, they won't do it.
Exactly.
They'll just, cut themselves off from everything.
Yeah. And that's a big problem, right? So as long as you have someone, in this case, Lawrence, right? Where you're able to have a conversation with and just kind of let things go. Like, we as men, just like any other human being, we need to be able to express ourselves and let certain baggage and things that we have in our minds out, right? And this is primarily what we came here to talk about today, right? Why don't you maybe give, I don't know, an experience that you've had?
For sure. I mean, listen, mental health, I can't stress this enough how important it actually is. And most people, the thing is that you have to be strong. It goes hand in hand, right? You do have to be strong, but you also have to have flexibility with yourself, right? I've had huge ups, I've had huge downs in my life, really. And, I've even been in the really, that bad stage where you're just like, why continue, right? Yeah. There are many things to say about this, but for example, when you get into, for example, depression, right, which I hope we can touch on a bit more.
Of course.
But like depression is not a choice, but getting out of it is a choice. So, for example, for men, right, if you can't get out of bed because you don't want to go to work because you just expect how you're going to feel in work, fine, that's not a choice. But someone saying, okay, then go to the gym and try and get out of it, and you saying, I'm not going to go, that is the choice. Right? So going to the gym to try and change it and be, all right, I'm going to get out of it, that is the choice. And that is mental health, right? Asking for help is another one. That is the choice, to get out of depression, for example, right? And that is, I think, a lot of men struggle with the second thing, as we were saying before. Asking for help is the other part of getting out of it, right? So is that, in my experience, I was like that. I wouldn't ask for help, nothing, until... I was lucky enough. I had my brother with me, and he was like, mate, let's get you, started going to the gym, started working harder, started studying more. That's how you get it. And I came out of it. So there's always a way that for everyone, all the viewers, there's always a way. There's always a way.
Yeah. Just to like add to the point that you mentioned, it's very important to have a purpose in life.
Yeah.
Like, I think having a purpose kind of gives you, just that little push you need to like keep on to you know to have a better time. And I realized that, you know, like, this is a little bit deep, but like, you know, sometimes we don't want to die, but rather you want to fix something about yourself. You want to you know, there's something about you that you want to kind of like
change,
you know. And when you discover that, it kind of gives you more, effort to want to keep on going, you know.
I like, go ahead, sorry.
And I think that is something many people don't actually understand, you know, like, you know.
No,
and
I
that's
think
why like gym and doing things that help to improve yourself is very, very crucial to mental health as well.
I do think that I think it's I think like something important to really touch on is how people handle, you know, bad situations, right? Which, you know, basically trickles down to the whole mental health and stuff like that, right? The whole concept of mental health is, of course, you know, how you really handle in your brain what you think about and how you feel when something bad happens to you. So, for example, we had that, you know, moment between each other, right? And he was at the, you know, he was at my house, and that was happening to him, and, you know, of course, like, you know me, like I'm chill about, I really, there's a lot of things that I don't care about.
Like, this building could be falling down.
I swear, this entire building can be falling right now. As long as I have you like 3 outside, even if I'm sitting down here, like, I'm good. You know, I'll try to get out, but if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. Like, cool. Do you dig? So there's like, so that was happening to him, and I'm basically just like chuckling off. It's serious when you really think about what exactly happened. Again, we can't necessarily go into details, but, you know, there's difference between how we both see it. Me, I'm ready to like let everything burn to the ground.
But is it more like, do you feel like this could be a defense mechanism that you use internally to, like, let's say you have a serious situation where you may think of it not as a joke, but you may dumb it down in your head, right? So you can remain in control of the situation, but also understanding the severity.
That is a variable to also consider. But the way I also look at it is, okay, if it's bad, like, how bad is it realistically for me? Do you understand? Like, let's just say something like, you know, when, you know, back in our days, you know, we're younger and everybody's trying to like get girls, and, you know, we're not looking so good.
Me never. I've never done these type of
I don't know about experience that you're talking about.
Anyways, you know, some girl breaks your heart, that kind of thing, right? Realistically, it's bad, right? You feel hurt. Does it necessarily affect you? Does it affect your bank account? Not necessarily.
Right.
Do you understand?
That's enough.
So that's how that's how I look at it. Do you understand? I'll feel bad for a moment, few seconds, right? Okay, maybe more than a few seconds, because I know Phil's gonna laugh now. You both fucking laugh. But, you know, as long as it doesn't really affect my bank account, like, I can take that out of my mind and not let it affect me. It's affected me once, it's never gonna affect me again. So it's just more like, realistically, how does this really affect you? And the whole purpose thing, right? It's the whole purpose thing. If it's not in my purpose, I do not care about it, or I should not care about it. Maybe I should, but I'm not gonna do that. Me personally, at least. This
is also something that I wanted to piggyback off of what you said earlier. So doing things with a purpose, I 100% agree with that. But I would add on to that, and I would say that you want to make sure that the purpose behind the things that you do is bigger than you. So, like, for example, if I go ahead and say, look, I'm doing this job for the purpose of me getting money. Once I get the money, I won't be motivated to continue to do the job anymore.
That's a really good point.
You know?
That's
very true.
Really
you know what I mean?
That's very true.
Really
so
good point.
it's more about finding that purpose, but making sure that purpose is much bigger than you. So it's like, okay, I'm going to do this job so I can get this money. Cool. But I need this money, let's say, to pay a hospital bill for an important family member of mine.
I really like that, yeah.
Now that purpose, like, now you're going to job, not because you need money, but because this person's life depends on it. Now the seriousness of what you do and why you do things changes completely just by this one thing.
No, I was going to add on to something you said. When you say, is it really that important? Is it really not that important? And I think that's something really important to do in life, but it's very difficult because it all comes down to perspective, right? So there can be someone that has a perfect life, right? Everything perfect, right? But maybe for him, he breaks his dad's car, right? And he's distraught, right? But then you have in another country someone who is in a war right now. He just lost his parents, his sister, everything, and he's crying the same amount, right? And you're both in that emotional, you're both broken, you're both incredibly sad. Putting yourself in perspective and sort of managing pain and knowing how much pain, it's very difficult, you know? It's very difficult to put yourself in, oh, how bad is this really, you know?
Right.
It does take time. It really does take time and experience. A lot.
Experience,
especially myself, of course. Going through all of that. I going through a lot of bad shit happening on a daily basis to me. I have to basically cut out all the noise and that point of the why behind that purpose. You know, of course, sometimes maybe I might think, having the money already comes. The purpose already comes with it, right? For example, I'm trying to make money so that later on I can, take care of my family and, be a bum dad or a bum husband, that kind of thing, later on in my life, and help the people around me, just make them smile and whatnot, right? But, just being able to cut everything out that is not in line with that purpose, it comes with experience. You will get hurt a lot of times. You will have that mental health thing. But yeah, go ahead. I will get to another point as well, but yeah,
and just to also talk about the point both of you mentioned. As I said, sometimes these things happen to us to shape us to be better, and along the line, because at that point, so many things were happening to me that so many things, and I discovered Stoicism, and one of the things that really helped me was, why do we worry about things we have no control over? Something about me is I try to want to I overthink a lot, and I'm I've thought 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 steps ahead, and I'm not just thinking, I'm also worried, So what then happens is it has not happened yet, but I'm already sad.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Right,
that's
exactly.
crazy.
But this is, I'm so happy that you mentioned this, Figgy, because look, if you think about what is anxiety, right? When we feel anxious or we're experiencing anxiety, we are stuck in the future. Yeah. Something has not happened yet.
Yeah.
And we are already thinking in our minds oh, what's the outcome of this going to be? Yeah. Right? When we are depressed and we're sad, we're stuck in the past because something has already happened and our emotion is based on this past experience. Right? What I feel is that what we need to do is stop living less in the past and in the future and start living in the now, right? So it's okay, right now, our current situation is that we are sitting in this room having this constructive conversation, right? Yeah. We don't know what's going to happen after this. We already know what happened before this. But if we're able to black these things out, blank it out in our minds and just understand that this is where we are and this is what we're doing now, life becomes so much simple. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But that's the thing. You saying it as many things in this life, saying it sounds so simple, right? But then you get in this position where when it happens in life, it just something clicks and you just can't get out of it. I'll mention something, right? It's a bit more personal, but that way the viewers can also empathize with us and stuff, right? So me, for example, what happened to me was I came from a really, really nice family, right? Where I had basically everything and I was very accustomed to it, right? But as life is sometimes, everything just from one day to the other, it broke. So all of a sudden you live this kind of fairy tale life and then suddenly, since a kid, right? I was probably 13 or 12 when it all sort of collapsed, right? Suddenly you're introduced to violence, to abandonment, to really... I had to move house as well. You live in a different area. You're accustomed to this really nice life, but it's also a learning curve, right? It was amazing to also learn it and know, but getting out of that situation, I just got blocked with it. I was sort of in more of a shock state, right? The fact that I was always looking at the past, it wasn't the obsession with the past. It was the shock of my new present,
falling,
right?
Right.
So the way I kind of got out of it was, as you were mentioning before, having a higher objective was, all right, what am I going to do so I can save my wife and children from this situation? And that's how I got out. Right? So all of my life purpose is how can I assure that my wife and children don't go through this? And that's how I kind of carry on
yourself.
with the ups and downs.
It really does get easier when you have like a specific goal that you are, looking
purpose,
to get to, right? And of course, you need to have a bigger purpose. You need to kind of, in my experience at least, you need to kind of expand as much as possible when you're writing these goals down in your head, either on the note or digitally, right? I personally had a specific amount of income that I wanted to, begin to make every month. Like, back in the day, I'm like, okay, if I'm able to get this amount, it's great, right? Every single year since I, had that, this was back still when I was in Nigeria, I had an income increase every single year. Now, hit a very big number last year, right? And this year, I started having mental health problems that I never had ever in my entire life. Because all I was focused on was a specific number. I was focused on money. I hit that last year, and I broke down. I did tell you about the story as well. I don't think I was talking to you at the time. No, I mean, I guess I met you this year, right?
Yeah, roundabout and no. Well, yeah,
this year. I met you. I met you this year as well, and I literally broke down simply because I was focused on a goal, and literally the whole mental health concepts with the whole anxiety, none of that was visible to me. I was going through them, but I had one thing in my head. Do you understand? That's why I don't necessarily have like a great relationship in terms of like mental health like you, like all three of you do. Do you understand? That's why I tell you guys, like, you guys actually inspire me. Like, I literally look up to you guys, right? Like, I just have one thing in my head. I don't care what's going on. Like, I don't care, like, I'm the type of person is like, okay, I have somewhere I'm supposed to go to for like a meeting, right? Let's just say I'm coming here at a specific time. I don't care if I had an accident on the road and I broke my arm or something. I'm gonna fix that and make sure that I'm at that appointment at that specific time. I might die as soon as I get here, but as long as I got here, I'm good. Now that's probably some people probably say it's very toxic. Some people say it's very toxic or like it's not healthy. It's worse work for me so far. Although the consequences of that is now I have to deal with my health. Like I've gone to the hospital. I've got like some health issues, my heart and my lungs and whatnot. Right? That's the consequences of that. Well, so people then have to make a choice to then think like what do you really want for your life.
Yeah.
I got to that point. I got to a specific number. Now I want more because I got to that point. I figured out, I don't have anything else to do, and I was just partying like an idiot.
And that's what life is about. Like, if you look at what the things that we go through in life, it's satisfaction comes from solving problems.
Yeah.
Right. Every time we solve one problem, guess what? A new one is unlocked.
Yeah.
Right. And this is how we feel. And we understand that we are evolving and we're getting better in life. Right. We're progressing. We're evolving. Right. For example, let's say you have a problem of, let's say you're commuting to work and you don't want to take the metro anymore to work and you need a car.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
You solve the problem, you get the car. Now you have the problem of having to pay for petrol, having to pay for an insurance, all of these types of things, right?
Yeah.
And once we start doing these things, we feel like, okay, I solved this problem. I continue to evolve as I go through life.
Yeah.
Right? So it's always important to understand that new things will continuously come up. But as long as we are able to solve problems and also at the same time endure stress. A man's success, I highly believe, is dictated on how much stress
you can endure.
he can endure.
Yeah. Can I say
for
something?
sure,
Just to buttress on you, I'll give you guys a new perspective. I think I've mentioned this to you before.
Yeah.
So I realized something, for example, like chasing money, you hit the next target, and you end up not being ever fulfilled. Because like my uncle told me this, like when I got like my first paycheck, it was small, but it was okay. I was like, I got this money and I'm happy, and every time my uncle told me that, don't worry, after some time you would want this amount of money.
More.
You want more.
You definitely
and I was like,
more.
what is this saying? And then 3-4 months, I'm like, oh my God, like where's all my money going and everything? And I wanted more, you know?
Yeah.
And even the same with for example, gadgets or things, you know? And that is when it comes to vanity. vanity, vanity. You know, sometimes I believe chasing real things, chasing things that, you know, like for example, like you shouldn't let money be the fruit of happiness. Like money shouldn't dictate happiness for you.
It's a tool.
Yeah, it's a
Not at
tool.
all,
Yeah, right. Like you should, like external things shouldn't affect your internal happiness, and that is something that you have to constantly work upon. You know, like for example, if I carry Lawrence and I put you in Mars, can you still be happy?
In what?
At Mars, like I take you to a different planet.
Well, it depends if there's
Wow,
money
that
there.
was so
If there's $1 million to Mars, shit.
What's
If
he
you
gonna
pay,
find in
if you
Mars?
pay me to go to Mars, man, I'm going 100%. Like, you think I want to be sitting down with people on Earth? They piss me off.
I know a couple of things that Lawrence would definitely go to Mars for.
I'm gonna throw a question right out there.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna put a situation, right? Imagine right now there's a couple of viewers, right? Different situations, right? So you got the typical 18-year-old, he just finished high school, he doesn't really know what to do, and he's struggling with that mental health. Like, I don't know what my purpose is and everything. We were talking about purpose. Or even there's a 42-year-old, right now as well watching, and he just got fired from his job. He didn't like that job. He's been maybe working in as a postman all his life. He doesn't like that. He doesn't feel fulfilled, and he's really struggling with his mental health. Both people are really struggling. What advice would you give them? So if you can tell him something where you think, oh, if I tell you this, it will help you get out of that situation.
No matter which one you're speaking to, right? It could be the younger one or the older
Anything,
one.
like it's just different situations, but you can kind of understand where they're coming from, right? So what do you think as a man to a man saying, look, this is what I would recommend for your mental health in order to achieve that success that you're looking for?
Okay. I would go back to what I mentioned earlier. Whatever it is that you're going through, whether for the older man trying to get a new job, or for the younger kid trying to find himself, you know, in his career path, is understand why you're doing what you're doing, which is, it goes back to what I mentioned earlier. Purpose. Like, there's nothing more important than why you're doing things. You know, like if you always go back to that question, you will always find that fuel that you need to keep on going from the beginning. It's like, okay, why is it that you're going through this certain situation at the moment? What was it that you did to get here? And understand, and it goes back, we spoke about this a bit before we got started with the podcast. What is it that I don't like to do? Why is it that I'm unhappy at this point? What was it that got me here? And understand the steps that you took that made you get here, and make sure you don't do those things again, right? It's so important, and I feel like this is something that's applicable to a kid at 18.
I think we were talking,
you know,
we were talking about this,
starting his career, or trying to find his why. And it's also applicable to a man who has gone through the motions and walked through life, but may have found himself in a situation that obviously he wasn't expecting.
If you're young and you're watching this, maybe an idea is, if you don't know what you do like, start with something that you don't like. Like, try something that you don't like. Get a job as a whatever it is, right? But just get something that you know is going to be tough, that you're not going to like. Do it for some months, realize what it is, where you don't want to be, and that might help you find what you do want to be. Right?
Absolutely.
I might disagree with that a little bit, because it depends. So if you have like a 42-year-old, right, like they've already experienced everything. They already know what they don't like and stuff. Like you actually do have a lot of 18-year-olds, even 20 people in their early 20s as well, don't know exactly what their purpose is, what they're supposed to be doing for work and stuff. But one thing is sure, there are things that you like to do, right? There's some things that somebody has told you, maybe in your family, maybe someone outside, that you've been doing as a hobby that you were probably very good at, right? And some people have told you, oh, well, you need to actually go find like a real job. Like, you know, this is not going to make you any money, right? What I know from like working on the internet for like the past few years is that you can do anything and make money on the internet. People are selling feet on the internet. I'm not saying you should sell feet, but I'm telling you,
Lawrence, why are you telling them your side job, bro? Come on, man.
Now we know your side hustle.
But I'm telling you, there's like a lot of things that you can do right now that people are interested in. Right now, what's really going like really big is entertainment and music, right? We had COVID. and people who are literally going viral, making money, going famous on TikTok from doing different things, right? Some people were just playing the xylophone. I was watching people playing the xylophone.
Yeah.
Something that I would never even think of doing. And it sounds like stupid, but like, you know, there are a lot of things that you can do that you already know. And there's sometimes if you come and tell me, oh, Lawrence, you're really good at this stuff. Elvis tell me you're really good at this stuff. So I know you definitely do have those things that people tell you you're good at. Try those first. They will come with stress.
Yeah.
When you have stress and you eliminate something, you're probably going to eliminate like 3 things before you actually find what you actually want to do, before you figure it out. So I think that you should actually start with what you like or what you're good at first, right? I mean, because if you start with something that you don't like, well, you're just putting yourself like in a whole like bad situation, because if you start with something that you don't like and it's not good, then you're going to be fucked up again, thinking like, oh, there's actually nothing for you to do. Do you understand?
Yeah.
You know what I would advise the young person? I think many people don't realize how powerful the mind is. For example, if you want for this thing to be created, like this design, person had to think about it with the mind, and then created it. Before anything was created, you have to first of all think about it.
Yeah.
So if you want something for yourself, you have to imagine where you want to see yourself in so and so amount of years, or in 2 years, in 3 years, or what do you want to do? And you know, I firmly believe that if you put your mind to something, like if you want to achieve something and you work towards it, you would achieve it.
It's the law of attraction.
Yeah.
And this is something that I'm sure we've all heard of the law of attraction.
Yeah.
Right? And it's when you're laser focused on something, right? I don't know if you've ever been in a situation where, let's say you're looking to like buy a car, or let's say you want to buy a phone. Prior to your interest in buying this product, you didn't really see it in your environment, right? It just came along. Maybe you saw it in an advertisement, or you saw a friend with it, and it started going, you know, you put your eyes on it. And then after that, you start seeing this all over the place. Like I remember when I was first trying to buy my car, I never really noticed my car in the streets until I started wanting. Has this happened to you?
Of course it will, yeah.
You know, and then all of a sudden, now that you have your eyes on this car, this is the car I want to buy. This is the car I want to buy. It just starts popping. But this is the law of attraction, and it's the power of the mind.
Yeah.
When you laser focus on something,
It's also the not giving up. Have you ever heard of the runner's high?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, you're running, you just really can't do it, and you're about to stop, but you push yourself, and then all of a sudden your body just wakes up and you can do another 10 kilometers, right?
Yeah.
So you're just so focused on not giving up that all of a sudden your body just gives you a boost, right? If you take that and carry it to life, and you're in a really bad situation right now, everything's collapsed basically, but you're just running a marathon, right? So I can do 2 things. I can sit down and give up, or I can keep on, and you will get the runner's high in life. So like the life high, right?
Yeah.
And then you just
Keep
succeed.
on going.
That's success. That's the push that you get.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And to go back on my point about the mind, why I like brought it up. So for example, you mentioned about like when you got your car, you said you started seeing your car like everywhere. Same thing. If you focus on the negative, all you will see is negativity. So, and this is something I dealt with growing up. Like, and at that time I didn't have anybody to advise me, because I had like obsessive thinking. And
You still do.
I still do, but now I know how to.
Now you know how to
I know how
handle it.
to
Yeah, you
handle it
actually
and
do
how
know
to control it.
better.
You know, but like growing up, I didn't know what to do. Like, and it's very it's crazy. Like for example, my mind can tell me like, this is water. I know I don't like this water, for example. And my mind is telling me, oh, you like this water, you like this water. And then what I try to do is I try to speak to the mind, and you know, like, oh, I know I don't like this water, and trying to give like, you know, reasons why I do not like this water. Crazy, like speaking to myself, you know. And I realized something about the thoughts. Like, the more you emphasize on it, the more it comes, you know. But like the moment you just like leave it, like it's just a thought, you know, it goes away, you know. And another thing I realized about thought is, you know, we are not our thoughts, you know. And this is something many people like mistake. Like, and sometimes you just observe your thoughts. You don't have to, like, you can be having a thought. You don't have to get into it and start, you know, like talking about it.
Identify yourself
with the thought.
Exactly.
Yeah, perfect.
Got
Just
you.
observe, you know, like observe what is this trying to teach me.
Yeah.
And over time, like when you sit down with it, you see like to pass away.
Right.
But what most people do is they try to fight it, they try to give resistance, and then it just keeps on getting worse and worse and worse.
That's so powerful. I like
Yeah.
that. Look, the mind is think of it as a space, right? And emotions and thoughts and feelings, it just flows freely through the space. Let's be honest. We've all thought about things that technically we shouldn't be thinking about, but it just comes into our minds.
Yeah.
Let's not be specific. All right? Anyways.
Keep it to yourself.
Stop thinking about that. Man. Anyways. The mind is a free space. You know, we have to be able to allow our thoughts and feelings to go in through it freely, as you mentioned, but not, I'll use the same words you use, not try to fight it, you know, and not try to identify ourselves with our thoughts.
Yeah.
Understand, okay, it's a thought, analyze it. What value can I pull out of it? Cool. If I can pull this out of it, cool, I'll use it and I'll absorb it to my benefit. And if I can't, I'll let it move.
Go. Yeah.
You know?
Another thing to, you know, to add to the 18-year-old is also understand that your, you know, environment also plays a very, very big part.
Yeah.
A
Really good point.
very
Really
massive
good point.
part
Really good point.
In how you, in one, your success, and in how you feel on a day-to-day basis, right? And one variable of your environment will be the people who are around you, your friends, your family. It's especially your friends, because of course, like, you know, once you get to that point, you're not really talking to your family as much. You know, you're trying to hide things from them. You're 18, you know, you're trying to hide some things that you're doing, you know. So you're usually around your friends, and you see, when we think, you know, about people who, you know, do all these, you know, drugs and, you know, and whatnot, they usually have a circle of people, you know, that are doing the same thing. When we think about, you know, the people with like blue hair and red hair and, you know, they're all depressed and stuff, it's because they if you think about them, they usually have a lot of people that are doing the same thing around them as well.
Yeah.
And
You know?
the thing with that is sometimes when you're in a bad situation, these people tend to understand you because they're in a bad situation. But the thing is that you are only, as I don't know who said it before, like the bad thoughts and everything. You're just feeding each other.
Yeah.
Instead of feeding yourself the bad thoughts, you're feeding each other all of this negativity, bad thoughts. Oh yeah, I hate life. Life is horrible. Look, this happened to me. Let's just smoke weed together, for example, right?
No, that's actually interesting that you say that, because like when you did say, like, you know, these people, because they've gone through that as well, like they really understand you.
Yeah.
So what would then be, because I mean, I've never thought of it that way though. Do you understand? I've never thought of it that way, but that sounds very, very, like, you know, true to me. Because, for example, let's just say, God forbid, like, you know, someone in my family died, and then, you know, Elvis has someone in his family died, you know, he'll be able to understand my grief. And, you know, like, we'll be able to, like, bounce off each other and have that. So the people in that, for example, like 18-year-olds who are going through a path that we think is not necessarily the best path to, you know, success or to living a healthy life.
Yeah.
What is now the antidote for those set of people or those set of kids? What's the antidote for that?
Yeah. So
You know, just to, you know, put this into concept, like they don't necessarily have any good person per se in their
That's
view.
the thing.
Yeah.
that is why self-reflection is very good. I do a lot of self-reflection. So, for example, if I was in that space, you know, where I was surrounded by people who mostly deal with negative thought and everything, you know, what I do is I always do self-reflection. I ask myself, you know, like what am I doing in my life, basically, you know, how can I make my life better, you know? I try to find answers. And that is why it's always good to get perspective from different people, because then you're able to, obviously not to take advice from everyone, but for you to like go back and like filter it on what is meant for you,
Right.
You know.
So I don't know if you wanted to.
Yeah, just a quick one. And I totally agree with that. And I also feel like the way you talk to yourself is a big part. If you're in a situation where you don't have any positivity or anyone that can really guide you towards a positive path in your surroundings, and you find yourself practically blocked off, it's very important to watch and analyze how you speak to yourself. So, like, for example, understanding that things in your life, whether it's good or bad, is an opportunity, and that you get to do these things. You don't have to do anything in your life per se, right? Like, for example, there's people that say, you know, maybe they're not in the career path or job that they love or they would want to be, and they'll wake up and say, oh, I have to go to work today. Brother or sister, you get to go to work today.
Yeah.
You understand? There's so many people that would love to be in a position where they're able to produce money to feed themselves or their family, right? Or, oh man, I have to go to the gym. Brother,
I get to go.
you get to go to the
Amazing
gym.
point.
Yeah. You know what I mean?
I really like that. I
Yeah.
really like that. I'm actually gonna take that for myself as well.
Amazing. And that's the whole idea of these types of conversations, right? And you understanding that one change.
Very important.
I'm saying the same sentence. The only thing I'm changing is one word.
Yeah,
but
gratitude.
It automatically just changes the whole way that you view, and it's all about perspective. You know, we're going full circle in what we mentioned earlier. So again, if you don't have anyone else to lean on, lean on yourself, and bet on the fact that if you talk to yourself the right way, you could get pretty far.
I just want to buttress on this point about do not be scared to cut off relationships as well. Like if you reach a certain point in life and you feel like these people are not operating on the same wavelength as me, do not be scared to cut them off and find people who are willing to operate on the same wavelength as you. Because then you would move faster, you know, like if you're doing it alone, like you sometimes when you're down, who's going to lift you up, you know? But when you have someone has the same wavelength as you, when you're down, the person is there to lift you up as well. So many people are scared of like losing relationships and friendships and stuff, but like if you notice they're not on the same wavelength as you, don't be scared to cut them off and find someone who's operating on the same wavelength as you. I think that's a good advice to give as well.
So
That's a good point. I'm gonna cut someone off.
yeah.
I'm actually dead. I'm not even joking. Go ahead, Slow. I'm not even joking.
The thing as well is, as we were mentioning, sort of, I'm going to mix a bit of what everyone said, right? So, putting yourself in the position of, imagine you come from a really poor background, right? And you live next to your really rich neighbors, right? You're going to get close to the other poor kids, right? Because you understand each other. Then you're going to start doing like, imagine you see your friends and they're all going to all the rich kids, they drive really nice cars, they get to go to restaurants and stuff, and you can't, right? So then your friends start saying, oh, let's steal. You know, you want the same thing, right? So that's the thing. You're surrounding yourself, you're feeding, but you feel comfortable. You feel that someone understands you. You feel empathy. We're humans. We need empathy, right? We need people that, you know, understand us. So what you're saying about self-reflection is both, you said it's really important, and especially nowadays where we have, for example, YouTube and books and whatever. I understand that there are many people that maybe don't want to read, right? You don't want to start reading sort of Rich Poor Dad, and all of these
amazing
power
fucking books,
and all of
man.
these books, right? Fair enough. If you don't like those books, go on YouTube, right? Even a podcast like this, right?
Yeah,
Just
go
listen.
visit our podcast. Man.
Yeah.
Subscribe and like the video.
If you don't have that influence in person, you have that influence, right? You're still listening to people that are telling you this is the way. Like, brother, this is the way, you know?
Yeah.
But also it's like, you know, like I do understand that, and you know, all these make sense. But you know, I can't help but feel like over time, you know, I used to think, okay, of course, even if you're in a bad situation, you can always, you know, get into a good situation because, you know, that was my experience. But I can't help but wonder if I got dealt a good hand. You know, some people are just dealt a bad hand
What do you mean
life.
exactly?
In terms of like, so for example, let's just say we're here now, we're enjoying our lives, but there are people like in Gaza, right?
Yeah.
So they've been dealt a bad hand.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
So in that sense, right, we might have been dealt a good hand with maybe one or two good uncles or one or two good friends that we saw, or you know, maybe we happened to pick up a book one day that, because I happened to pick up a book that my mom had on her shelf, and literally that's what Lawrence is today. I picked up one book, finished reading it, and the entire time of 2018, I was reading books the entire time. I didn't do nothing else. Didn't really do anything else apart from like reading books. I was just reading books. So, but she had a whole shelf. I didn't have to necessarily buy anything. But before that, I was a whole stubborn ass child and shit, you know? So some people may not have like a good hand. They might not necessarily, you know, because you need to see that something is good and experience, like you need to see that something is good
what is
for
good?
you to know what's bad. Do you understand?
What is good? What is bad?
See, but you won't know that unless you actually see it.
I think that is relative.
Yeah, it is.
That's
No,
what we
it
were
is.
talking at the
It is
beginning. I said,
relative.
right? It's all about perspective.
Yeah.
It is relative to the person's vision. And I'll tell you this. I was going outside with my dad one day, right? And we're both in the car. And so on the road, they had you know how we have all these traditional stuff, in our country. And so they had these masquerades, they're coming out with the masquerade and, they're flogging. It's some kind of like traditional thing
Yeah.
that, they do in my country or whatnot.
I wasn't aware of it, but
So they come like they dress up masquerades and stuff like that, and you have children who are in homes who live in that type of same area. Of course, like I was like in middle class, but these people are like below average. They're living in poverty and whatnot, right? And these kids are just running with the masquerade. They're happy, but my dad was telling me as well. Like you see, like. He's gonna grow up thinking, oh, I want to be a masquerade when I grow up. But that's the vision that he has. That's this perspective he's got. Me, funny enough, I feel I was dealt a good hand because I was able to see like where people, have reached to, like what you can achieve with the education that I've got, and I've, of course, come to Dubai as well. But I don't know what's gonna happen in the course of that child's life. Maybe later on he might have the opportunity to see some other vision.
Yeah.
But if he doesn't, that's the highest point.
Yeah, no, I
being
totally,
a masquerade.
I totally agree because look, we, to a certain extent, we are a product of our environment, right? We, for the most part, we tend to become as high as we see people in our environment. Like the highest that they go, this is our benchmark.
Yeah.
For the most part, right?
Yeah.
And the thing is that now I feel like, as a generation, we have a better opportunity to aspire to things that are outside of our environment. Obviously, being exposed to these social platforms and things. It's like you may be coming from a very low income neighborhood or country or whatever it is, but let's say you go on Instagram and you see a certain lifestyle that you may want to have, and you know that this is a possibility, right? You may not understand how it is that you're gonna get there, but maybe you can start to find certain blueprints of other people that have gotten there to help you go through that journey.
Have you ever seen the experiment of the fleas?
No.
So they put like these fleas in a glass, right? And all the fleas are jumping all the time, right? And they jump out of the glass, right? Because they can jump a certain height and they just jump out of the glass, right? So what they do is then they put a plastic sort of, I don't know what it is, like maybe film or something, a lid on top, right? And they leave it maybe for, I don't know, 24 hours or something, right? And the fleas are jumping. Then they go back, they take the lid off and everything, and not a single flea jumps out. They only jump exactly to where the plastic was, and it's a real experiment. You can watch it, right? That's also life.
Yeah,
you know?
basically, like
That's
you're
also
capped,
life.
you're capped
Exactly.
by what
like
you know is possible or what you believe is possible. So I think that plays a very a very very big part.
big.
I was just fortunate enough. I don't know if other people would be.
Can I give you guys another perspective? I think we're looking at it at just one angle. Like success as a whole can have different meaning. It can be money, one. Secondly, it can be like satisfaction or just happiness, and some people happiness to them is being able to, do things that they love, have time for the family, have time to, go out and see like nature and greenery, have time to cook. To them, this is what they want, To someone, it might be money and success as well, but that's why I said everything has to do with perspective,
Right.
in the right sense, So I think generally, like, in the true sense, success, right? Like this is my own view, all right? I think the height of like human success, like if you look at proper success, is about being satisfied with who you are as a person.
Being comfortable in your own skin.
Being comfortable,
like, this
being
is who I am.
satisfied, like this is who I am, and being happy about it, which I know is not easy, because sometimes, like, do you just want to keep on chasing money? There are things there are things that are beyond, like love, joy, happiness. These things are beyond temporary stuff.
Think about how many people nowadays, especially, are sacrificing not having children only for money, and then once they get the money and you're 40 or something, then especially, I mean, it's unfair, but especially women, right?
Yeah.
And all of a sudden they can't have kids, and it's like, what am I gonna do? I have to live until I'm 80. This is half of my life.
Yeah, and I it's good that you bring this up. I was actually having a conversation not too long ago with a colleague of mine, and I firmly believe that there comes a time in life where the only thing that you have, look, your cousins, your siblings, your parents will die. The only thing you have is your kids. You
100%.
know? Like, look,
100%.
to each its own. Obviously, not everybody is pro having kids, whatever it is.
Yeah.
That's fine. But I think that if we have something to work towards, right? And if we say like, okay, this is what we do, this is why I do things, not only for myself, but for the life of my kids, and you have that aspiration,
Yeah.
I think it brings a whole different meaning and purpose, right, to what it is that we're doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
You know,
no, it's
100%.
it's funny because like you know, I was thinking the other day that most people who got to like in terms of wealth, and again I'm talking about money again, so maybe that's my perspective about like my happiness and whatnot. But most people that got to that like that we're thinking about in their 30s, 40s that are doing multiple six figures, they usually like have a kid. Like it's a new purpose, to make sure that kid is like okay and stuff like that. It's crazy. Biologically, it's actually
especially
amazing.
mums, right?
Yeah.
I mean, mums, they're amazing, right?
Yeah.
Fathers are,
They're amazing as well,
cool.
yeah.
But mums, like, if you want to see,
I love you, Mom.
I love you too.
when you think, oh, I can't get out of it, a situation, a mum for her child, normally we all have no exceptions. A mum doesn't see that for her child. She doesn't see, oh, I can't get out of this one. No, for my child, I'll pick up a bus and put it on top of me, right? It's like, especially mums, dads as well, right? But that is inspiring, and that's why I would recommend. Also, I'm going off topic a bit, but like really having kids, it's really important for your
Having
life
kids.
and perspective.
I'm going for
and
10.
enjoying
Hey,
being
what's up?
happy.
When are you gonna have kids?
Soon. Don't worry. But now talking about this,
Yeah.
To the parents out there, your childhood, like the childhood of your children, is very important to the future. Like who you are now
Oh my lord. Oh my
comes
lord.
back from the things that happened during your
100%.
Oh
childhood.
my lord. 100%.
100%.
For example, I see some, like, excuse me, but some parents, they tell their child, you are stupid, you are dumb, you are this, you are that. When they grow up, they end up feeling that, feeling bad about themselves, that self-esteem is low because as a parent, you
Of
didn't
course.
give them,
Yeah, of
you
course.
know,
Yeah.
Look, it's
support
great that
they
you
need.
say that. Like, most of my success
Yeah.
has come from what has been instilled in my brain from when I was a kid.
okay.
Like, when I was a kid, I didn't aspire or think that I was going to do anything. And my mom was the only person that was telling me, like, when I thought, like, Elvis, you're a piece of shit, you're not going to do nothing with your life, let's be honest.
Kept it real.
My mom is there, like, listen to me, you're going to be amazing.
Yeah.
You're going to do great.
Yeah.
You're going to be a king. And she's telling me this, and I'm like, you're betting on the wrong one. Like, this is what I'm thinking at the moment, right? But now, looking at it as an adult, it's like all of these things that she used to tell me, I'm now telling myself. But it's not because magically I think that this is how my life should be. I've been hearing it for decades, And you start to realize that as you get older. So that's huge.
And even like down to the values as well, like down to your core values, like I don't do this, I don't do this stuff. Like it's down to how you were brought up being young. Like for me, like when my dad, because I come from an African family, they flog us very well.
Yes, brother.
At that time, like, oh, do my parents even love me? Like, why would they flog me or what? But then it's discipline, I'm like, okay, like, okay, that's shaping me to be the right man, like, to be the right, human being, like in terms of like disciplines. And now I've grown up. There's certain things I would not just do because of how my parents have brought me up. So that comes down to, are you ready to have children?
Yeah.
Like, do you think, like as a dad, like when you become a dad, do you think your child will look up to you? And
I mean, me personally, man, like I think, like honestly, my parents, they've been great. When I was a child, I was stubborn as hell. Just that they had to whoop me. They had to, like, my mom was frustrated, said a lot of things which I never hold to, like, I never, like, think about it till today at all, because I was if I had a kid that's anything like 1% of me as a kid, I don't know, I'd probably lose my mind. I'm not even joking. I'm telling you, I'd actually lose my mind. But my parents did play a very, very big part, especially when I finished high school. My dad, my mom, they actually played a very big part in my success I have to today. Like the confidence I have and everything. They just like, oh, Lawrence, you're so great. My mom calls me, hey, great. She calls me Lawrence the Great.
That's where
That's
Lawrence
my actual
from.
name though. But still, you know, it's like
Amazing.
they call me Lawrence the Great. My dad calls me boss. He never even calls me like, you know, son or anything. Like, hey boss, how you doing?
Like for parents as well, sometimes with kids and stuff, installing values or knowing how to say no. Tough love is hard love, but that means it's good love.
Good love, yeah.
You know?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I got all the tough love I could. Man.
Yeah, no,
I still feel the tough love I got when I was a kid.
My kid's gonna be whooped.
Yeah.
No, I mean, see, the thing is, me personally, I'm not gonna like, you know, just go all out whooping. Do you understand? I feel it's important because they whoop me to the end of days. I didn't change for one bit. My mom would literally like whoop the shit out of me. Like my dad would come home, he's looking at me, like he's tearing up because like the way she's already dealt with me, like he can't even do nothing more. Do you understand? But that didn't work until when I grew like older and my dad started talking to me and I started to see experiences myself. So I feel I have to take that same approach with my child.
Yeah.
If you do something wrong, I'm gonna tell you, okay, this is why you shouldn't do this. Of course they're not gonna listen. I'm then gonna tell them that I'm gonna be angry if you do this. That's the second time.
Yeah.
You still do it again, you're getting your ass whooped.
Absolutely.
And
That
very,
is
very
where,
much.
That is where balance comes in.
Yeah.
You know, some people are like left or right. Some people are like, oh no, I would never beat my child. I will never do this. I will only speak to him. Some people are like, no, I will only beat and beat. No, but then if you come to the middle ground whereby you balance it out with sometimes talking,
There are
sometimes
gonna be a lot of comments. Yeah, saying, you beat your children. You know, you beat your children.
But also sometimes, you know,
Balance,
kids
the
are
balance,
kids, you know,
yeah.
like, you know, you have toddlers and then you also have teenagers. These are like, you know, these are two, you know, similar set of people in terms of how their brains are working. They're not necessarily listening to anything. In that point, you actually have to whoop. And I take it psychologically because at that point, pain is now a conduit to consequence. Because it's just like saying, "Oh, don't put your hand in the fire," but because it's shining in their eyes, they're a toddler.
But then at the same time, and I'll wrap up with this one. I think, you know, we have to be very careful with beating our kids. Well, I don't have any kids yet, but we don't want our kids to not do things because they don't want to get beat. But we want them not to do things because they need to understand that this is not what you should do. Because if you grow up not doing things because you're going to get beat, eventually you're going to be old enough where you're not going to get beat no more. But then you're going to keep on doing what you shouldn't be doing, right? Because you don't understand.
No, but
right?
I get what you're saying. However, at that point, they might not understand. I'm using myself like an extreme as an example. They might not necessarily especially teenagers, man. Come on,
No,
like,
makes sense.
we know what we're talking about. They might not necessarily understand. That would be the only physical pain would be the only conduit that they will be able to actually understand as a consequence.
True.
So you have to whoop them.
But then I really agree with what you've said. You have to make sure that they're able to do self-reflection
Absolutely.
as well.
Yeah.
Self-reflection is very key. And I think that is something my parents really instilled in me to do self-reflection because I do a lot of self-reflection.
Yeah.
If you just do it and they don't do self-reflection, then when they are not around you, the complete opposite because nobody can flog them or nobody can do. But when you put the instill, like let them understand the consequences of what they're doing, when you know, like you still the self-reflection, then even if you're not there at all, they would, you know, because of themselves or because like they've come to the conclusion by themselves, they'll stick to it.
Yeah.
So I think, I just wanted to give like final thoughts, right? So my final thoughts with everything that I've kind of even learned, like everything in this sort of really nice conversation is, first of all, objectives are really important and having something in your life that you want to do. If you're in a bad situation, know how to ask for help, but know also how to take the decision to start taking steps to change your habits, right?
Yeah.
That's
Big
number
one.
one. And then the second thought as well that comes sort of wrapping up is for parents, their mental health depends on a lot on how you prepare them for life, right? How you prepare them, the values that you installed, as you said, everything, how you do it will affect a lot how they later on, we're talking about men, but we can do men and women as well. Like really how you do it and how you prepare them will be crucial to how they deal with their mental health later on in order to succeed. Those are my final thoughts.
No, that's
and also just to add to that, like I feel it's really, really important to meet as many people as you can because as we talked about, the vision if your vision is capped, if your environment is capped at a certain point, that's where you're gonna go. So as much as possible, try and go out, meet as many people, good, bad,
get exposed.
anything. Get exposed
for sure.
Get exposed big time. It will help you somehow. If you're gonna turn out shit, then you're gonna turn out shit. Hey,
Absolutely, guys.
But if you're gonna turn out good as well, just go out and get exposure.
But
just to also like give my own final to add to the points you've mentioned. I think also one, the mind is very powerful as well. You need to make sure you're giving your mind the positive things that it needs. Secondly, do not be scared to speak to someone. Sometimes we're all in our head and we're thinking, but when you just say it out, and you let someone, sometimes when you say something that you're, oh, okay, no, it's not something like this, So having someone you can speak about, whether it's therapy or whether it's, a close friend, it's also something that is also important for your success. And also, do not be scared to make mistakes. Do not be scared to fail.
That's a big one. That's a big one. And if you're gonna fail, I would add on to that, fail fast. Right? Don't be scared. Like if you're gonna fail at something, look, we're all gonna fail. You might as well fail as soon as you can. Understand that this is not the way to do it, and get on to other things. Right? So that's also, essentially what it is.
Remember, like just using Elvis's point. Remember this, right? If you're writing an exam, the only way for you to pass is to study, right? You studying doesn't mean you're gonna pass. You might fail. But if you don't study, you're definitely gonna fail.
Yeah. You miss 100% of the shots you don't take.
Yeah. There you go.
Anything in life.
That's my fucking longest.
Guys, look, I wanna, extend my thank you to Stuart and Fee. For coming onto the podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Thank
you so much.
It's good to see you guys.
It's honestly a pleasure. We love how we're able to create this platform and bring smart individuals such as yourselves to just, go ahead and give value, not only to us, because this for us is a learning experience, right? Like this is just as beneficial for us as it is for you guys. Well, at least I hope that it is beneficial to you guys. And it's just a pleasure to have you guys. So thank you so much, guys.
Thank you, viewers, for watching. Thanks to the guests for showing up. Please subscribe and like the video if you actually like the video.
And throw
even
a comment
even if you didn't like the video, just like it.
Share
your thoughts with us as well. We'd love to see them. We will definitely reply to them. And that's a wrap. And just stay tuned for the next episode. It's going to be as great as this one and the first episode as well. Absolutely. All right then. Peace.
Bye.
Peace. Bye.
All right.